big. Now I'm small. I'm stating the obvious. This is what we need in today's world, the obvious. Whoa, I love American politics. I was born and raised in Manitoba, Canada, so I could be close to my mother. And I mean, Canadian politics sucks compared to American politics. Canada is not as good of a nation as the United States. But they have a lot of natural resources, so I do like Canada about that. And they do have very good hockey teams. I couldn't skate, so I got kicked out of the country. The United States took me in as a refugee, and I've lived half my life in the United States, half my life in Canada. I am a self-described conservative. I'm an atheist. Woohoo, scary. I have a beautiful Christian wife. I have 2 children. I'm saying all this because there's probably some new people who will see this on the replay or be here now. And if you're new here now, welcome. You can talk to me if you want. I'm going to pin the link in the live stream chat. And yes, I think I will also go into Discord. What should I do? Oh yeah, I love the music. Start the stage. What's with the elevator music with Discord? That's what do we call this? Yeah, come at me. Okay. See, I hope I remember how to use Discord here. Oh, Whitney, we got a token female here. Females tend, especially if you're single, you tend not to be conservative if you're a single female. So if there's any single females here who are conservative, you are a unicorn. How am I going to do this? I got too many things open. Let's close that. So I'll give my thoughts. If you want to join me on Discord, you got to raise your hand. Oh, someone's already raising their hand. Whitney wants in right away. Does this work? Oh yeah, there you go. Hi, token female.
How's it going, Doug?
It's going really well, thank you. Yeah. I'm still shocked that you are here and you listen to me.
That's correct. 1 second. I actually can't hear you that well. Hang on.
Can people on the YouTube hear me well?
Yeah, it's just... Okay, I fixed it.
Okay. I'm going to turn you up here too. Anything on your mind? Or do you just want to hear what's on my mind?
Not particularly. What's on your mind, Doug?
Well... That was a crazy last week. Was it 9 days ago now when Trump was shot in the ear? I must admit, I've become a little cynical and a little distrusting in life in general. And I said to myself, I sure hope that's not a paintball. I mean, in a way, I hoped it was a paintball, but in another way, like, can you imagine if Trump gets up and it's actually paint and not blood? And so all these weird thoughts went through my head of weird things that could happen. And it's weird that we live in a society where these thoughts go through your head of, I'm hearing it from the Democrat side still, that they think this is staged and fake. You're not one of them, right? You don't think this was fake.
Well, I've heard that from a few liberals, but generally speaking, no, I don't think that's a very common conclusion to jump to. I would say, though, for you, since you're a conservative, maybe you're more predisposed to conspiratorial lines of thought.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, conspiracy theories tend to, they, for whatever reason, right-wingers seem to be more likely to latch on to them.
Is there any conspiracy theories that is more there on the left?
I don't know. I don't really engage too much with conspiracy theories, generally speaking, or even politics for that matter. It used to be, I don't know if this is conspiracy theory, but it used to be that liberals thought vaccines caused autism.
That's the first thing that popped in my head. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but now it's the anti-vax thing is more of a right-wing thing.
What conspiracy theories do you think the right has currently?
Um, let's see. Well, there was the whole Pizzagate thing. That was a big one.
Pizzagate?
Yeah, Pizzagate.
What do you mean?
They thought that Hillary Clinton was. Surely you've heard of Pizzagate. They thought that Hillary Clinton was like milking the pituitary glands of children for adrenochrome or something.
What?
You've never heard of pizza?
No.
This was
when was this?
Yeah. Let's see.
This must be like a
When did it
long
pop
time
off?
ago.
No, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. 2016 election cycle. Yeah.
Okay. So in your opinion, these types of conspiracy theories are more prevalent on the right than left?
Correct. That's been my experience.
And do you think your experience is correct about reality?
Probably not.
There you go. I mean, I appreciate your honesty. I think I think you're going to have what? I think you're going to have what? 10 to 20% craziness on the left and 10 to 20% craziness on the right?
Probably so. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
I must admit that part of me, when that bullet hit Trump's ear, like when he turned his head and it just missed, I'm thinking, whoa. I mean, this is a rare event. Maybe this is a miracle. But then I heard the other guy got shot in the head and that quickly went away. But did any thoughts like that enter your mind? First of all, are you an atheist, a Christian, a Muslim, a Greek, a Jew?
I'm an atheist.
You're an atheist. Did anything like that go through your head? That maybe...
No.
No. Okay.
No, I just assumed it was a crazed gunman, a maladjusted young man. My first thought was that it was probably the kind of person who it ended up being. Does that make sense? Like, I basically pictured the gunman before I even saw a picture of him.
You pictured him how?
You know, skinny, white, nerdy.
Not trans?
No. I just yeah. Like a Dylan Klebold phenotype.
Okay. Have you heard all the conspiracy theories from the right on, well, maybe even on the left, on that he didn't act alone?
I have not. I haven't been. I don't really pay attention to that kind of thing.
It was interesting was I listened to the Secret Service head who's now resigned. What's her name? Jennifer Cheadle, and that both the Democrats and the Republicans came together and really chastised her hard. I mean, really hard.
Yeah, AOC really went for her. It was great.
Yeah, made a great AOC made a great point that what is an AR-15 has a range of 400 to 600. Is it feet or yards? Yards, I think. And yet the perimeter was only 200 or 400, something like that. So if a gun can... I still don't get this. And if there's a Secret Service sniper who can kill the gunman and can see him, why couldn't he kill and see him before he took the shot?
I read something about this. Basically, like the way they set up these security perimeters. First of all, like you've got the Secret Service and the local police department. And the Secret Service is responsible for like the closest perimeter, and then the local police are responsible for like...
But all that's irrelevant. We got a Secret Service sniper who shot, what's his name? What was his last name?
The guy that did it?
Yeah.
The shooter? Yeah.
What's his name?
I don't remember. But he
Cheats?
had to. The sniper had to like drop. He had to like drop the barrel of the gun down to take the shot. So I think maybe he was like looking further off into the distance and not in that like mid-level line of sight that the local police department was responsible for securing.
Crooks. Cheats. Crooks. Yeah, his name's Crooks. No, this is what I don't get. If a sniper's up in an elevated area, which the sniper was, he should be panning constantly. I'm not a sniper. I've never been a trained sniper, but I would think part of a sniper's job is to look everywhere of possible threats. And if he can shoot Crooks in the head, that means he could see Crooks. He had a line of sight on Crooks, and Crooks was up there for more than probably a few seconds before he took the shot. He has to climb up there. He has to get in place. He has to lie down. He has to get his gun ready. I mean, it really, really. Now, is this a conspiratorial thought in my head to ask this question? Like, to me, this is just common sense, right?
Yeah, but I think that in order to answer that question, you would have to know what the security protocols are for an event like that. Like, you'd have to maybe talk to somebody who has that kind of experience.
So you're saying that maybe the sniper from the Secret Service did see that Crooks up there, but couldn't engage until he fired a shot first? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, no, I just think that, like I said, I think there are like three kind of like bands of, like, like three different bands of, I don't know, like a perimeter. You've got like the area closest to. I don't think it is, because what I'm saying is that the sniper who did eventually shoot the guy was looking beyond, right? Basically looking past him, looking further off into the distance. Because I think in order for that to work, like you wouldn't want snipers, like there's no way they couldn't be effective if they were like looking everywhere, right? They probably do have like a certain like field of vision that they're responsible for.
But a guy on the roof is hard to miss. I mean, like if you're looking around, oh, there's a guy, and especially through a scope, which the Secret Service, I'm sure, had and used. To me, this is the only excuse I can come up with is he just wasn't looking in that spot, which is...
Yeah, probably looking beyond him, thinking that the local, whatever, county police, the Butler County Police, were securing that other kind of band of like line of sight.
But then that gets back to AOC's question, which was a great question. If you're saying that he was beyond what he was looking at, well, if an AR-15 can go that distance, you should be looking at that distance, which is highly incompetent. I mean, I would love for there to be a reenactment of the whole thing and make it public for the whole world to see, of get a camera on where the sniper's position was and where the Secret Service sniper's position was. And so you can get a good, so everybody can see, this is how big in the scope it was. This is how big with just the naked eye, how easy it would have been to spot. And I tell you, if this was an easy thing to spot, and the sniper didn't see it, and if the sniper did see it, the Secret Service snipers did see it and didn't act, ooh, I feel sorry for that Secret Service sniper. I mean, he could go to jail.
I wonder too about the fact that you have the Secret Service and the county police expected to work together.
All that's irrelevant to me.
I don't think so, because I think it does have to do with how they kind of like what the security protocols are. You've got two different government agencies trying to work together. It's obviously,
well, the security protocols were no backpacks, no bicycles, no, this was all came out through the hearing, and Crooks had all these things, and he still got. I mean, you would think that it would set up red flags. But anyhow, I got another caller, so I'll let you go. Thanks, Whitney.
Later.
Thanks for being my token female.
Anytime.
Okay, we got someone on whereby. Oh, it's you.
Damn it. I've got that Ramble's name, so this whereby thing sucks.
See, you're a typical liberal. The first thing you do when you come into my show is you complain.
That's correct.
Okay, what do you want to say to me? By the way, for the audience who don't know, this gentleman who just called in, he's a conservative, but because he has a very liberal wife or partner, he has to pretend he's a progressive liberal. So I feel sorry for him.
I'm going to shut the camera off so my internet works a little bit better.
Okay.
You're fucked. She is going to steamroll that old can of soup. It's just going to be all the whining in the world is not going to save you now, Doug. It is going to be awesome to watch.
Oh, you're talking about when Michelle Obama wins?
No, I'm talking about Harris is going to steamroll that orange bastard.
I love comedy hour.
You're in so much trouble. All of my friends that are like, she's less liked than Biden. Yeah, she may be less liked, but the amount of support that's come out, it'll be interesting to see the next 2 weeks.
Well, if you're a person of color,
Pennsylvania,
if you're a person of color, I mean, you have to vote for another person of color, right? Identity politics.
Oh man, they remember Obama, like the amount of like support he got from the community. Hillary, the women, like this idea that a black woman.
Okay, Sean,
did you watch her speech? Hold on. Did you watch the speech today? Did you watch the speech today?
I don't think I did. Maybe parts of it. I've been busy.
Yeah, watch it. She's good. She's a politician, and she comes out swinging too. She's good.
It doesn't matter if she's good or not.
Even you'll admit, like, damn, it's trouble.
What matters is, will people vote for her? And you think so? On what
Yes,
basis?
they will.
On what basis do you think she will beat Trump?
Well, so I think if this keeps going, or if the past few days is any indication of what's about to happen over the next couple of months, the amount of small donations she got within the first 48 hours was insane. Right? Like small donations, she's up to, I think, almost $100 million. So the purse now is almost literally like 250, I think. And
okay, but Trump gets that too, and you don't think he's going to win. So you can't use that as your reasoning.
No. I didn't say win. I said what we're going to see over the next 2 weeks is going to be very telling of what happens.
Did you just say that? Hold on. That she's going to beat Trump and
hold on. The reason that I think she steamrolls Trump is because she's a real politician. And I say this, listen to her speech, and then we can talk about it, because she comes out swinging. She's articulate, she's compassionate, and even if she's not the best on some things, or we don't agree with her policies, when you put the two of them side by side and he's doing his little orange man dance, talking about Nancy Pelosi and all the fentanyl and the immigration and all the other bullshit he talks about, she's a real politician. That's why I think it's going to be problematic for him.
Okay, so you're not basing this on any polling data then? You're just on your conspiratorial left-wing hunches.
Dude, the only polling data we have is the amount of money that she's raised within 48 hours, which is almost $100 million.
That's false. There's polling data on Trump versus Harris out there.
No, I'm talking about since she became the candidate.
Yeah, and I think we have polling data on that too.
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, how well do you think they can poll in 48 hours? Like, we can see numbers in money, and you see like all the people out there that are saying, and look, they've already started though. Trump immediately came out and was like, oh, you know what? It was never Biden that was the problem at the border. It was her, because she was pulling all the strings behind the scenes. Like, he's already setting it up. Two things. He's already setting her up for all of the rhetoric that they faulted Biden for, and that the election is rigged because the Democrats have somehow like cheated by Joe Biden stepping down and Kamala being the new
All this is irrelevant. It comes down to swing states. Which swing states?
Pennsylvania. If she takes Shapiro, she very well may take Pennsylvania.
Okay, current polling has Trump still ahead of Harris in Pennsylvania.
Right, but Shapiro's the governor of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you're saying that if she picks him as her VP, then that will flip. Okay, what other one?
Well, she's got, who's the other one? Whitmore, who I don't think I like as much because I don't think two women will be as, I think she'd be better off with Shapiro. I like Buttigieg, but I think the people like Buttigieg better, but I think Shapiro would probably be the better decision. I'm just saying it's an interesting 2 weeks, but to think that like Kamala is some like pushover, watch her speech, Doug.
Well, hang on. You don't think she has given speeches back in 2020 when she ran for president and like in the primaries?
We haven't seen a politician give us, look, Biden was incapable of giving this speech. Trump is not a politician. The only speech.
Did you hear what I just said?
Say it one more time. I thought I was answering the question.
No,
I'm sorry.
I said Harris has given speeches before, and especially when she ran for the Democratic ticket for president back in 2020.
Not like this, no.
And nobody voted for her. So what's different?
She came out swinging. Whoever coached her, whoever's been coaching her for the past 4 years in the basement while they've been pushing Biden out the door. Even the suit was good. Like no more fucking frill like girly suit. She came out with a good suit too. I said this the other day. I said they've got to get her suits down. They've got to get her a better wardrobe.
So you personally think better? Do you personally think right now Harris will beat Trump?
I think she has a good shot of it. Yeah. I'm not going to say yes, but I think she has a good shot. Yes.
Okay, what does good shot mean? 20%, 30%?
I'll bet you $100.
Done. Okay.
Awesome.
So let me write that down.
You've got me on Discord.
$100 that Harris beats Trump, and I say Trump will beat Harris.
If Obama's not the hold on. But the only caveat is if she runs, if Obama comes, if Michelle comes out and says, "Hey,"
yes, right. Okay. Yeah. So if on November 7th it's Harris versus Trump, you think Harris wins $100?
Harris Shapiro.
It's on
Harris
record.
Shapiro steamrolls. I think she wins the popular vote by a fucking landslide.
Popular vote? Who cares about the popular vote? We live in an electoral system.
We all should care about the popular vote because that's the only true. If every vote actually counts, it should be judged by the popular vote.
You want to make it 200? That's how confident I am you're going to lose $100.
I understand what you're saying, but look. So here's the. On that note, I have a good friend of mine. Also, he's anyway. Do you think the Electoral College should stand, or do you think it's outdated?
I'm 50-50 on this. I actually think I understand the reasons for Electoral College, but I also think that conservatives should be able to win the popular vote as well. So yeah, it's a push to me. But I understand, like, if you make it popular vote, then states like California and New York can just kind of steamroll the states that really matter, that provide our food, like Nebraska and South Dakota, North Dakota and Kansas, and these are important states too. They feed us.
Right, but you're simply saying that we have 20 people, but 5 of them should count for more votes because they matter just as much. And I'm saying all 20 people matter.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the people in Nebraska matter more than the people in California.
Right, that's why
they're worth
you're
more.
Saying those,
per
you're
person.
Saying those 5, right? Those see, but that's why. That's what I mean. Those 5 people matter more than the 15.
Let's be honest, Sean. Let's be honest. Okay, you
didn't. No. Did you look at the reel I sent you through Discord with why farmers use? I sent this specifically for you and tagged you.
On what?
It's about a farmer. It's about a farmer and why they use H2 workers versus Americans. It's because Americans don't want the job.
Oh yeah, I think I didn't see. I saw that
Did
you
you watch
posted.
it?
No, but I didn't watch it. But I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, I'm not sure why you're sending something that I probably already agree with you on.
Because you're always talking about farmers.
Yeah, but the point still stands that I think that if you had to survive on an island,
You really got too much bleach in that pool, dude.
I know. I just noticed
I
that.
mean,
It
there's
doesn't.
like
It-
there's a
it's-
lot of
it's-
bleach in that pool.
It's my hair's the same color as my shirt almost, but it's also my lighting. Like in real life, it doesn't look like this.
Don't.
In
Yeah.
real, if you and I were to meet in real life, I would look completely different. But anyhow,
Completely different. You wouldn't recognize me.
okay. So here's a interesting thought experiment. The world's coming to an end. You're on a deserted island, and you can pick I don't know 10 people.
Harris.
You can
I
pick
want Harris.
No, this gets back to the other thing about value. You can pick 10 random people out of Nebraska or 10 random people out of let's pick on Washington State for survival. 10 random. So computer picks them out. Who are you going to pick from? Nebraska or Washington State?
Just depends on the area. Like, so if you just want to be,
Oh,
so I
come
have
on.
friends in Listen to what I'm about to tell you. I have friends in California that do tree work. I work for this particular company.
Well, that's why I picked
that do
Washington,
tree
because
work.
I realize there's a lot of farmers in California.
Well, and it's not even about farmers, but you're just talking about like what you would call salt of the earth, right?
Yeah,
Like
people
that.
people who know how to
Well, and
survive.
you think You think Washington State doesn't have that? You think Oregon
No, they're
doesn't have
wusses.
that? You don't
W
think-
stands for
right.
wuss. W stands for Washington.
That's right. You need to go. You need to go to Washington State. You need to go to Oregon. I mean, just the fact that like the South and wherever you live are the only like salt of the earth. And I guess I could say the same thing about you, though. I could say, because I'm from Georgia, what would you rather have? Some crazy like person out of Arizona that believes in like aliens and vortexes and all this crazy nonsense? Or would you rather have Georgia, like people from the South, salt of the earth?
Oh, I like Georgians.
Yeah, right. Rather than Arizona, because Arizona's just crazy. You people are absolutely insane.
You people, you racist.
Well, I mean, you people.
I think you're voting for Trump.
Then you've just completely mistaken me for someone else.
Well, Kate, I understand that you're having
Hold on,
sex
wait,
with
wait.
a
Hold on, let me tell you
progressive,
this.
but you're
Let
going
me
to
tell you this.
when it comes to that day, you're voting for Trump.
Doug. Let me tell you the story because it's very quick. I said to a friend the other day before they kicked Sleepy Joe out, I said, I'm more worried that Trump will get elected. If Trump gets elected, I'm more worried than if Joe gets elected.
Why?
And my friend goes, so you're voting for Trump. And that's
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I was about to boot you because it was getting boring, but I think people on the left have lost all credibility. If I ever hear a person like you, a flag-waving phony, say, I can't vote for Trump because I got to save democracy, or democracy is under
this is
threat.
just the same projection of the party that you align with, right? Because you're calling me
Tell
a
me who,
flag-waving phony.
true or false,
When Doug,
people have
the only
voted
person, the
for
only
Kamala
person
Harris.
in this particular like live stream that's a flag-waving phony is you. You literally are a flag-waving phony American.
Okay,
We all know you're Canadian.
enough with the name calling. True or false?
Let's have
The
it.
Democratic Party voted for Kamala Harris to be president. True or false?
Not yet. No.
Right. It's false.
All that's happened is Biden has said, "Hey, this is my VP. I'm giving her the endorsement." That's
So
it.
shouldn't it be
That's
an
all
open
that's happened.
primary like a
Holy
democracy should be?
I don't care.
You don't care about democracy?
I think what they should be doing behind closed doors, if they're smart, they should have been doing this all along. And I think I might have even said this to you.
You don't
is
care about
figuring out
democracy.
Is who's best suited to beat Trump? Who beats
Why are
Trump?
you so scared of
And
Trump?
if it's Harris, because it's enough.
Because he hurts your feelings?
No. It's,
Why are you
know
scared of
exactly
Trump? Why is it such a big urgency that Trump not win? I'm setting
It's
you
not
up.
it's not an urgency that he not win. I think who he surrounds himself with want to make it harder for
Careful. You got to be
I
careful
think
what
they-
you say
no,
now. Everything's changed. You can't just
I know,
say because he's a threat to democracy. You can't say that anymore.
So
you people on the left have lost the right to say he's a threat to democracy after we have an appointed Kamala Harris on the Democratic side who hasn't got one vote for president to run for president.
I think if Trump is elected, it makes it much easier for MAGA to set the future people up for some sort of weird absolute power, and I don't think that's
Oh, you
smart
see
for
a
us.
threat to democracy. See, yeah, hypocrites. Threat to
Why is
democracy. You got someone who's running for president who's appointed, not voted for. Threat to democracy.
You're jumping
you people on the left are the real threat to democracy.
Jesus Christ, you're jumping the gun. All that's happened now is that like Biden said, hey, this is who's going to be. The convention's going to come. The delegates are all going to vote in. And
Okay,
it's
good.
If you're so like, this is the thing with like you people and Trump, right?
You people.
Like, why is there always this whining? Why can't you just go, you know what? Trump's going to wipe the floor with Harris.
Oh, he will.
That's not
my
what's
prediction.
going on with the
That's why I bet you $100.
The Republican Party right now is going, holy shit, we're in trouble. So let's throw everything we can. This is illegal. This can't cheating. I've already spent all this money on buying merchandise. Like, I mean,
You think Trump's scared of Harris?
I think, yes, is the no. I think Trump's scared of what happens if he's not president. That's what I think Trump's scared of.
You saw the video of Trump when he was golfing and he didn't realize he was on a camera. And Trump said, yeah, after the debate, I forced Biden out and we're going to get Harris and she's terrible. I mean, this is great. He basically, he's not scared of Harris.
Well, then it looks like it'll be an easy $100 for you.
Yeah, that's why I want to go 200. Ask your wife if 200's okay. Is your wife there? I want to talk to a real. You're a faux. You're a faux liberal. I want to talk to a real one.
You want to talk to the radical, don't you?
Yeah. Is she radical?
Maybe one day behind closed doors, the three of us could say, you know what, Doug? We could have a Zoom with the four of us, you and your wife, and me and mine.
I'm not a swinger. I have to change my whole wardrobe if I swing.
You could meet. You could meet a real life radical liberal.
Anyhow,
he scares me.
Yeah, all this sex talk is. I got to let you go. The Democratic Party is not for all the public. The party decides. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Floyd. Just hang on. I'm getting a call. Oh, it's Harris. Hey. Yeah, Kamala. Kamala? You mean I've been saying your name wrong for this whole time? Yeah. Well, yeah, I know I'm live streaming. You don't appreciate me thinking you're going to lose? Well, you're going to lose. I know the perception is you're a DEI plant. Well, you got to admit, Biden basically said he was only considering 4 black women when he chose his VP. So you are a DEI. He chose you because of your skin shade, not because of your talent. How does that make you feel? Uh-huh. You're okay with that. You're okay with using your skin shade to your advantage. Okay. But you agreed with Sean, my previous caller, that you are a great politician? Yeah. You know how to BS? Yeah. No, that could be true. And you are better looking than Biden. I'll give you that. But Biden's basically a corpse. Okay. Well, all the best. Yeah, I'm not donating. No, I'm not donating to you. Okay. Look elsewhere for money. Yeah. You honestly think you have a chance? No. You don't think you have a chance? No, I won't tell anybody. Well, it'll be fun trying it, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, take care. Yeah, say hi to your white husband for me. Okay, bye. That was Kamala Harris. She just called it into the show. Indy.
Hey, what's up, Doug? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. What?
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm a bit of a hate watcher. I've been hate watching you for a while.
Well, I can tell because you got long hair and a ponytail, so that means you probably don't like me.
Yeah, I'm like a gay socialist or whatever.
Oh, are you gay? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Not that there's anything wrong with that. So
why do you hate me?
So like, I've seen others describe you as like a MAGA atheist. Would you say that's accurate?
No.
Like, you're just a conservative, or
Yeah.
okay? Because I can, like, I don't know. I mean, just the last guy you were debating, I can probably agree. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's a sure thing that Trump is going to win, but like, it seems. I don't really believe anybody who's certain. I think anything could happen, but like,
Well, sure.
as it stands right now, like the polls are Trump's kind of crushing for sure.
Yeah, Trump's crushing Kamala in the polls. Kamala, she just called me, said I should refer to her as Kamala. She said on the phone that if I call her Kamala, it sounds too ebony. Her words, not mine. But yeah, I think nothing's for certain. I'd give Trump at least 70% chance of winning now. But who knows? Anything can happen in politics. But I still don't get why you don't like me.
So like, I mean, I've seen some of your old atheist debates with like Mike Winger and stuff, but it seems like most of your stuff now is just like conservative content. You talk a lot about trans people. I don't know. I feel like I disagree with you, but I also don't know exactly where you stand. So you say,
okay,
you're
so
like
if you
a
don't know where I
trans
stand, then you
activist.
don't really know if you hate me or not.
Well, okay. Let me ask you. Can I ask you a clarifying question?
Sure.
So what's the difference in your mind between like a trans activist and like an acceptable trans person in your mind?
Trans activists tend to be white knighting. They tend to feel like they need to protect the poor innocent trans person and coddle them in their arms. So it's a bit of low expectation type person, and then who get their hope, meaning, and purpose from what I think is this false sense of love and compassion for people, but it's more or less just to make themselves feel good.
So they're like trans virtue signalers?
Yeah, exactly. And I've interviewed many trans people, 6, 7, 8 of them, I don't know, something like that. And I would say every conversation has gone well. Sure, we've had disagreements, even spirited debate, but it's not like I think I would be. In fact, if there's any trans person who I've talked to who disagrees with this, let me know. But I don't think any of them hate me or think that I was a bad person to them or anything like that.
Well, I've seen like some of your conversations with, I think it was Zoe. I think do they identify as a woman, or are they like non-binary or whatever?
Yeah. Again, for the record, you said that you've watched my content, my old content. I was Mike Winger and stuff, and you kind of implied you kind of liked it, right? And then now it's more trans. I mean, I would say the vast minority of my content's about trans. And recently, every time I talk about trans, it's because other people bring it up, not me. Like you, for example, just brought it up. The only reason why we're talking about trans is because of you. And the only reason why I talked to Zoe was because Zoe initiated it. I mean, as far as like we were talking on Discord and said, Doug, I want to talk to you about certain trans issues. And then that led to the conversation on. But anyhow, yeah, keep on asking me questions.
Well, okay. I mean, the thing with Zoe is like you seem to intentionally misgender them and use like the wrong pronouns on stuff, and then you kind of just do this whole
during
like,
that conversation. During that conversation, did I purposely misgender? I don't think I did.
Yeah, well, not in conversation with them, but like just behind their back to your audience, right?
Yeah, and I've told Zoe that whenever I see a trans person who says I want to be referred to as she, and if I think in my mind, my mammalian pattern-seeking brain, if I view them as a male, a man, based on my definition, then yeah, it's a he.
So how do you define man?
I would define man as a coterie or a compilation of many things, but the main one is produce small gametes, XY chromosomes, testicles, penis, and then the person. I can have this argument against myself if you want, but you can say, well, if a man born without a penis will intersex, all these exceptions. But I define man in two ways, basically. I acknowledge the social construct part, like just looking at you, I can tell I'm more manly than you. I could probably out bench press you. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could. I'm old though. So there's
Are you really mogging me, dude? Like, come on, bro.
I'm being funny.
Like what? Like let me see your jawline, dude. Let me see it, bro. Like you're like fucking 60 over here. You really think you could like? How old are you, Doug?
53.
53. Okay. You're like my dad's age. Like, come on, bro.
Okay, but
What's your mile time?
So there's a sense of using the word man is like a very manly person.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a sense of using man in more the legal way, like being male. So it's sort of a synonym for being male. So I acknowledge both definitions, but I think when it comes to public policy, then you have to go to the definition as a synonym for male. Make sense?
What in terms of public policy? But
yeah,
okay,
like
but
women's
why?
spaces, women's sports, that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah, women's sports. Like, I don't know that one. I think you kind of have a point. I think that some people who bring up some of the really niche stuff, like men who transition, or no, I'm sorry, like female people who transition to men or whatever, are taking testosterone, and like a lot of it depends on like what age they transition at, and like probably the sport as well. Like I think that in some sports, for instance, like skateboarding, I don't really think it would make that much of a difference, and I think there was like
But why make any
some
exceptions?
controversy.
Why make any exceptions? If you got, let's say, a sport that says this is a woman's sport and this is a man's sport, why make any exceptions?
Okay,
for
what
trans
about
people?
chess?
If a chess organization wants to separate men and women, they can do that. I personally think they shouldn't.
Okay, but why should chess follow like your strict biological definition of man and women? Like,
If they choose to do that, I'm saying why make any exception? So if a chess organization says you have to be a biological male to play chess in this league and a biological female to play chess in that league, why make any? If they're free to do so, why make exceptions for trans people?
well, no, I'm saying, okay, well, there you go again. You're saying biological male and biological female, right? But I'm saying if they had a man's league and a woman's league, then by any reasonable definition.
But I'm saying they're
trans
defining.
woman-
What I'm saying is they're defining man as a biological man. And so then the question, and you're saying, well, you brought up skateboarding. Well, maybe skateboarding should be, that's not really a sport or whatever. But I'm saying, why make any exception? Why not just a blanket? If you were born a male, you can't be in women's sports.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, do you think that like that brings up the issue of like, what about these trans men who are like taking testosterone? Should they be able to compete with cis women? Because like you and I both agree, they'd like fucking crush them, right?
No, but that gets
to be totally unfair.
But that also gets to like there's also rules on taking drugs in sports too. That would fall under that rule.
Right. Well, I mean, I just think that overall, there's this narrative on the right that like it's usually specifically trans women. Like there was the whole thing with Leah Thomas because she got like second in some tournament. I don't fucking remember, but there's this narrative that like trans people are dominating, and it's like in any given like major sports league, you look and there's like, I don't know what, like 5 fucking trans people, and they never have any notable wins or anything. Like you'd think that you would see this trend, right? And like the one area I agree is like probably combat sports, because like some of the shit like bone density would probably make like more of a difference. But honestly, I feel like there are so few trans people right now that it's like you could probably just look at it on like a case by case basis, to be honest.
Why?
Right?
Why do that? Why do it on a case by case basis?
Like, I don't know, for instance, if there's some trans women that are like, maybe their testosterone level is too high.
No, but why make exceptions for trans people?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there are some, as I understand it now, there's some cis women who can't compete.
You notice you're not answering my question?
Their testosterone levels are too high.
My question is, why make exceptions for trans people? So let's say you got a person born male, identifies as a woman, and wants to, let's say, run track, and the track association on this particular place says no. And then the trans person takes it to court, whatever. What, in your opinion, if you were in charge, why make an exception for the trans person?
Well, okay, here's the, well, do you think that a trans woman is a woman?
Can you answer my question?
Well, because like I'm saying, like I think it's discrimination to not allow trans women to
Correct.
compete in women's sports because I think
Why
they're
is
women.
that bad to discriminate against trans people in sports?
Because I just don't think there's any real evidence right now that like trans people have an unfair advantage.
Okay, let's say they don't, but they're not. If a sporting authority says we want biological females in this sport, then it's okay to discriminate against men, right? Males.
I mean, I guess like my real issue is I think that the major sports leagues can do whatever they want, but like if we're talking specifically about high school sports, then to me that just feels like the school discriminating against like trans youth, and like that's what I'm really against. Because like I agree, like I think when it comes to the major sports leagues, they can do whatever they want. I think that my prescription for that would be they should look at it on a case-by-case basis. They can do whatever the hell they want.
I say
right,
no.
I don't really care.
I say no. It shouldn't be a case-by-case basis.
Okay, well that's fine. Like the trans sports thing, I don't really.
But you brought up, but you brought up fairness.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see this?
It's a graph, yeah.
Yeah, got men and women, the distribution of strength, speed, that sort of thing. Now, you see how
you have a source for that graph?
Oh my goodness. You got to be kidding me. Do you think there's a difference in physicality between men and women?
Yeah, but do you think that there's a difference between a cis woman and a trans man who is taking like hormones and testosterone?
That's what this graph is getting at. So I want to talk about that. So hang on, I got to do. This is why it's unfair to allow men. So let's say you got basically a man in the bottom. Here's the man. A man in the bottom 30 percentile of performance, just naturally, before even training. Okay, that man in this graph is about equal to, let's say, a top 20 percentile woman. So when you're starting from, we got these two individuals, a bottom 30% man is equal to a top 20% woman. That's not fair. That starting point for competition.
I mean, okay, look, if we're talking major league sports, it's kind of a different. Like, I don't necessarily disagree, but with major sports leagues, it's like we're already talking about like the top percentage of competitive people. So, well, okay, where do you stand on like high school sports? Do trans people allowed to be allowed to like compete?
No.
In those? Why?
Because I think the same holds true. This graph holds true even prior to puberty. This graph holds true for even kids who are 8, 9, 10 years old.
Okay, but we're talking about like school sports. Those would be run by the state, no? So we're talking public policy now. Now it's not just like these individual private sports leagues doing what they want. We're talking about like public schools doing this.
Right. So what's your question?
Why should the state be allowed to discriminate against trans people like that?
Because they can. Do you think all discrimination is bad? Are you under the impression that all discrimination is bad?
Can you name me like an example of discrimination that's good?
Okay, since you're a left-wing liberal, I'll pick an example that appeals to you. Women's night at the bar. That's discrimination. Women get in free, men have to pay.
An example of like the government doing discrimination that is good. Like an example of public policy that discriminates against a specific group of people.
Title IX. The federal government came up with Title IX, and the Biden administration is trying to change it. But before the Biden administration changed it, Title IX was the establishment of women's sports, and that men cannot be in women's sports. But then,
no, that was just an attempt to like ameliorate discrimination because women couldn't compete in the men's sports league, so they just had to make their own. That was what they had to do. And like, it's not a perfect solution, but like, it was like we're talking like the Nixon administration. Like, yeah, I think that ultimately that was like a capitulation to the left wing, like what he did with the creation of the EPA, right? So I mean, We can sit here and like nitpick that. I don't agree that it's a perfect solution, to be honest. But like, I think that if there are going to be men's and women's sports leagues, trans people should be able to compete, at least on a high school level, because
Why?
like ultimately it's a trivial thing. It doesn't really matter. Like high school sports is like
It doesn't matter.
ultimately pretty pointless. It's like, yeah, it's just,
Hey,
it's good for
Indy,
them socially, right?
Indy, you do realize that there are some track high schoolers who get scholarships to go to university, right?
Okay, well, this is where you and I disagree, because my solution to that would be, I don't think that kids should be like forced to compete in physical competition.
Oh, you are the
for a chance at a better
stereotypical
future.
left
I
winger.
think that they should just be able to like go to college without like going into an insane amount of debt, you know?
Do you think? Okay, you said that high school sports don't matter. Is that what you said?
Mhm. Yeah, it's mostly trivial if we're being honest.
Mostly
Like
trivial.
aside from like, sure, we can talk about the scholarship thing, but again, my solution is like, I think that college should be free. I don't think that kids should be like forced to compete in sports in order to get a chance at like having a future.
Yeah, it's now it seems like you want to hop from the trans thing to the college should be free thing. But can we stick on topic since you brought it up?
Mhm.
If a high school decides to have girls volleyball, do you think a boy should be able to play in girls volleyball if the boy says,
Well,
I'm a girl?
They're a trans girl, then yeah. But like, we're talking about like, what are you saying that like all the cis guys are just going to cynically start identifying as women so that they can crush all the girls in sports, like in the Daily Wire movie?
No, I'm not saying that. But although you bring up a good point, what if there is a narcissistic boy, which exists, who says, yeah, I do want a crush in this sport, so I will identify as a girl. What's to stop him?
Like, as it stands now, I think that the only possible incentive I could really think for someone to do that would be like maybe if they have a chance at getting a scholarship for it. But
Yeah.
again, I think the better
What's
solution
to
to that
stop?
would be like,
What's to stop this narcissistic boy who says, look, I either want to get a scholarship through volleyball or I just want to crush. I'm so sick and tired of being crushed by the boys. I'm going to go in the girls' league. I'm going to tell everybody I'm a girl when really I'm a boy and I'm faking. What's to stop him from doing that?
I guess nothing, but I mean, do you
Nothing.
have like any even anecdotal evidence of this ever happening, or is this just like all existing in like, you know, your own?
Oh yeah, let's
like,
assume that never ever happens. I'm just giving a thought experiment.
has it? Like, do you have even anecdotal evidence of it ever happening once?
Well, I would say Leah Thomas is one, but that's at the college level.
What? So you think that she's not really a woman? She's just doing
No.
it for clout?
Not really a woman. Okay, anybody who in some trans communities perspective, that really adjective is basically all self-ID. If a man says I'm a woman, then they're really a woman, right?
Like, yeah, but people are capable
Yeah.
of lying. Like, I think that there are a lot, like, I mean, for instance, like, you could say, like, I'm a Christian, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of a hard thing to define, right? Like, man and woman, when you get down to it, fundamentally,
being
these
a
terms
Christian
are a lot
is-
more complex than just biology.
No.
But you could lie about that, right? And it'd be the same thing.
Being a Christian, labeling yourself as a Christian is way easier than labeling yourself as a woman as far as attaching it to something real. For example, most Christians would say that if Jesus Christ was not God in flesh, didn't die for the sins of the world in some type of atonement theory, and didn't rise from the dead, at least in some sense, spiritually or bodily, you can't be a Christian. And Paul, in his letters himself, says this. If Jesus is not raised, then our belief is in vain. With the self-ID movement in the trans issue, it's like there's no book to like cling to. It's I think I'm a woman, so I'm a woman. Case closed.
Well, at the end of the day, like, it's more of a psychological thing, right? So, like, I think, honestly, for the most part, you could probably, like, maybe the Christian, that's kind of a bad example, right? Because that's a lot more abstract, especially with gender. There's also a physical aspect to it, right? And, like, I agree, like, especially if somebody is, like, pre-transition or mid-transition, it could be, like, difficult to tell sometimes. But I mean,
What are you saying? Are you saying that if a woman is, let's say, flat chested, she's more likely to be a man?
well, by your definition, right? Yeah, because I mean, you would
No.
say that like large breasts are a female attribute, therefore they would be one of the attributes associated with women, right? Like you said, the same thing with like typically women have XX chromosomes, they have a womb, they're capable of giving birth,
Yes.
but like they don't have to be
I-
all of those things, right?
Right.
So like if
Remember
a
I
woman
said
doesn't have a womb,
Remember I said there's two in two senses you can define woman or womanly. And I would agree with you. If ample breasts, wider hips or whatever is more womanly than a woman who's flat chested and narrower hips based on stereotypes in the social construct. But based on my definition of a woman legally, no, it's XX chromosomes. It's having the ability to reproduce large gametes and that sort of thing. This is not subjective
So,
stuff
okay,
like
so-
I feel like a woman.
so legally they have to meet all of these characteristics. So they have to have XX chromosomes and they have to produce eggs.
No.
Okay, so what is it then? Like, can you give me legal criteria?
A good legal criteria is the ability to produce large gametes. Now that does
Eggs.
not exclude people who've had hysterectomies because they were born with that, at least the potential to, and have XX chromosome, which is in every cell.
What do
of
you
your
mean the
body.
potential to? They don't have the potential to if they don't have ovaries. They literally are incapable of. They do not possess the potential to.
Right, and
What are you-
if they're born
what are you
without
trying to say?
if they're born without ovaries, then that brings up the intersex issue. But I'm
Like,
not.
okay,
I'm,
well, what
I'm
if
not
they
talking
hit
about
menopause and
intersex.
they don't produce gametes anymore?
Exactly. This is what I'm getting at. They have the machinery. They were born with the machinery to potentially produce, even if they might not be able to. And that still goes into, like, in menopause, if they cannot produce eggs anymore, that still doesn't mean they're not a woman. They're still a woman based on my definition. Does that make sense?
So
Does that make
what about
sense?
intersex people then? Yeah, sure. So it's all biological. They're born with the right machinery. Well, where do you define intersex people then?
Where do I define intersex people?
Like, is there?
Yeah.
Are they like on their license? I think it's male or female, right?
Yeah, I would say with most intersex people, not all, the pathway of development does lead them to at least appear more male or female. Like there's some exceptions to that, of course, but intersex people are an anomaly. There's been something screwed up with their development and their chromosomes. It's not a normal, typical thing. And
I think it's about like they say up to like 1 in 5 people are intersex. It's actually pretty
1 in
common.
5. Where did you get that nonsense from? That's 20%.
Yeah, let me look it up.
1 in 5 are intersex.
I don't know if that's actually accurate. I remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah, you remember reading that somewhere. I'm going to wait for you to look it up, and so you.
Shit, I was way off. It's 1 to 2%, but that's still like. I mean, we're talking about like
Yeah, you're way off.
1 to 2% of people. I think that's more than an anomaly. That's
And
roughly like
even
what, 1 in
that
50,
is
100?
even that is high because, yeah.
I feel like that's like the number of people born with like an extra toe. And I mean, even then, you admit you kind of just have to arbitrarily assign them a sex, right?
Okay. Besides,
Based on
we've been talking.
whichever one they look more like. What? I mean, how do you do that? How do you sex an intersex person then?
Is there anything else you want
Like,
to
if
talk
it's not
about?
really
We've been
clear.
talking about this for a while.
Okay, yeah, because you realize that like this is where you kind of start to lose the debate because you have to get into like some really complex esoteric definitions of like what men and women are. That like has to go beyond just basic biology.
What we were talking about trans, and then you pivoted to intersex. What percentage of trans people would call themselves intersex?
Percentage of trans people would call themselves intersex.
Would it be the majority or the minority? What's your guess?
Call it 50-50. I don't know.
50,
What do you think, Doug?
I think it's maybe 1%, 99%. 1% are actually intersex.
1% of the trans community? Or?
Yeah, that's my guess. You think it's 50-50. Remember how wrong you were with what
I
percentage
have
are
no
intersex
idea.
to
I
begin
don't-
with? You thought it was 20% of the population's intersex.
No, I think that was a study I was reading or something. It was completely, maybe, I don't remember where that was, but that was
Okay, let's
call it a Biden.
let's sum up this whole trans thing, and we can move on if you want and talk about something else. But you are for boys playing with girls in high school.
I am for trans girls competing in girls sports leagues in high school.
You're for humans with penises competing with girls without penises in sports in high school. Are you okay with boys with penises changing in change rooms in high school with girls with no penises? Lean yes, lean no. Are you okay with a boy with a penis and a human with a penis and testicles in a changing room with girls without a penis? They have vaginas. Humans with vaginas. Are you okay with that?
Sure, to be honest. I
Sure.
mean, like, it's a changing room, dog. What do you think goes on there? It's in the name, right? People are just changing clothes. I mean, that's just me, but like, I don't know. Maybe the changing room, you kind of have a point because people get naked, but like, especially when it comes to like the bathroom, it's like the trans bathroom.
What? I have a
stuff, like,
point. I have a point there.
I think you kind of have a point, but
Well,
like,
you're kind of against that.
it's just a penis, Doug. Who cares? I'm not really that against nudity. Like, I don't know.
So if let's say a human with a vagina in grade 11, a human with a penis enters the changing room as the human with a vagina is putting on her bra, and she goes, "What are you doing in here? Get out! Get out!" And the human with a penis says, "I'm a girl." And then then you happen to be the teacher there or the principal, and you said to well, relax, human with a vagina, just relax. It's just a penis.
Okay, well, I mean, if we're again talking about somebody like cynically identifying as trans just to go into the changing room, I think that's a different story. But normally,
okay, let's say that's not the case.
Trans,
Let's say that's not the case. We're not being cynical here. This person, this human with a penis, really, really, really believes they are a girl, but this girl who's just putting on her bra is very, very uncomfortable with this package coming in. You're going to say to the girl, "Oh, it's just a penis. Relax." That would be your response?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
What if one of the girls was to say, like, I'm really uncomfortable with that black girl changing over there. She makes me uncomfortable. Should we be like, yeah, well, get her out of there. She's uncomfortable.
The reason why a lot of women are uncomfortable with this is because, well, since you're so good at stats, what percentage of rapes happen from girls, boys raping girls, or men raping women versus the other way around?
Okay, well, once again, you're talking about like a trans woman, right? And I believe that would be a
okay. Sorry, I misspoke.
But yeah, you're right.
I misspoke.
Most sexual assaults, I admit, they are men attacking women. But like, what do you think that they're just going to identify as women just to get into the locker room to get at the women? Like, it's already illegal. Why would they have to go through all the extra steps to do that?
As if illegal stops people.
Yes, Doug, that's the point. So why the fuck would they have to like identify as a woman just to get into the bathroom to get at women if they're already going to be committing crimes? And once again, there's like no instances of this happening except for like some anecdote that happened in the UK like 5 or 6 years ago. Like, honestly, you have more odds of a sex crime being committed against you by like a Republican in a bathroom than a fucking trans person.
If feel sorry for liberals out there who are saying, "Oh, we have this this human with a penis and testicles identifying as a woman, and it's so nice and so sweet, and let them into the humans with vaginas room while they're changing," they are more willing. They're more at ease of doing that because they feel there's some people in society who will be accepting of this, and so they're more likely to actually commit, or at least get their jollies, maybe even masturbate in front of them or whatever with their penis. These are things that make women very uncomfortable, and for good reason.
Yeah, okay, Doug, like if let's just say hypothetically there's a criminal who wants to go masturbate in the women's room, they're going to go jerk off in the women's room. They're not going to go through the trouble of like identifying as a woman first. They're going to go like commit crimes, like you said.
Okay, that's true. That could happen. But what I'm
like,
saying,
how does identifying as a woman make that any easier?
Indy,
jerking off in the bathroom is still illegal,
Indy,
regardless of your gender.
Indy, please listen to me. I'm not disagreeing with you that can still happen. But what I'm saying is that if there is a segment of society who are embracing of this and saying this is okay and this is an all right thing to do, that it raises the probability of this happening.
Okay, so you think that trans people are more likely to jerk off in the bathroom?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that it's more likely that someone will be more comfortable going in.
You said that letting trans people into the bathrooms will lead to
trans people jerk off more. Okay, there you go. People with penises will jerk off more than people without. How's that? I'll give you whatever you want.
To back that up, that there have been just a bunch of trans people jerking off in the bathroom?
Oh yeah, I'll give you all the stats you want because you said that 20% of people are intersex, so I know you value stats. Andy, there is something wrong with you.
Where's your stats, Doug? Like, do you have anything aside from this Fox News boomer paranoia about trans people jerking off in bathrooms? I'm dead serious, because otherwise,
no, I have no stats for you.
Fucking silly, and you're just talking about anecdotes here.
I have no stats. You're right about everything.
Well, show me the stats then.
You're right about everything, Andy. I apologize. Do you have a job?
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm curious.
Right now, I deliver pizzas.
You deliver pizzas.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you for contributing to society and paying your taxes. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug. I mean, your condescension, it's also appreciated.
Well, I'm serious. I like that you have a job. Good for you.
Okay. There was one more thing I wanted to ask you.
At least you're not on welfare. Or are you?
You think that being on welfare is morally bad? You think that they're all just a bunch of lazy bums?
Well, would you agree that if someone on welfare is a financial burden to society?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm just glad you're not a financial burden to society. So thank you for that.
Okay. So you posted, I think it was a YouTube short earlier, but it was basically somebody said the president is not above the law, and you said no, they are because of presidential pardon power. Do you think that the president should be able to pardon themselves?
Do I think the president should be able to pardon themselves? I don't know. I actually don't have a strong opinion on that one. Maybe. I guess it would be hypocritical to say that they can pardon others and not themselves. So yes.
So how is that any different from a monarchy functionally?
Oh, it's still different that they're voted in and they have term limits and so forth. But yeah, to say that the president of the United States is not above the law, I think is mistaken.
Okay, well, why should the president just be able to commit crimes then?
Well, there is due process. The due process with the presidency is impeachment. So if the president oversteps his bounds, there is systems in place to have him removed.
Okay, well, do you think that it's possible that for partisan reasons, those political systems could fail to prosecute them?
I already answered your question, yes. Whenever you say, is it possible, I'll answer yes.
Right. So in that instance, then, should we be able to prosecute the president through other means, or they just got away with it?
The Supreme Court, did you read any of the Supreme Court ruling on this? Did you read
Which
any?
one was that? Oh, the immunity reading. Yeah, I did, but
Yeah.
that was.
So basically, they separated official capacity versus non-official capacity, which is very subjective and open to courts arguing about that. But the argument that they made about the president having basically being above the law, they made the same argument I just made, that if a court can say you're guilty of murder and you're sentenced to life in prison, and if a president can say you can go free tomorrow, don't tell me that the president is not above the law. The president is above the law because they've taken a jury of their peers ruling and said, gone, pardoned. So when Biden said that presidents are not above the law, he was wrong. Presidents are above the law, at least in certain circumstances, especially in official capacity. Same with governors. But anyhow, I got like 2 other colors and we've been talking for a while. So anyhow, thanks for coming on, Andy.
Appreciate you, Doug. Thanks for having me.
I don't know who was here first. Coherence, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Make sure your gearbox is set on the top right. This liberal is boring, says Mike W. Well, at least he's contributing to society by delivering pizzas. I say that sincerely. I was suspecting he was on assistance. Okay, coherence one more time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Very good.
Oh, excellent. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
Is there a specific theme of the conversations today, or is it just talk about anything?
Well, I'm hoping you hate me.
I can't say that I do, although I'd probably disagree with you on a fair bit of politics.
Okay, I'll take it then.
Yeah.
But
no, I've been watching you for a long time.
Okay.
Back from the religion days.
Long time listener, first time caller. Welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. You're probably too young to know who Rush Limbaugh is, right?
Oh,
Or to
I didn't watch
to
a lot of or listen to a lot of radio, but vague awareness. I was pretty conservative libertarian in high school, which is quite a few years ago now.
And then you changed to a progressive granola crunching, sandal wearing, tree hugging liberal.
Something like that.
What's her name?
Oh, no. College, I guess.
Oh, college. Okay.
Yeah.
In a blue state.
No, a red state, actually.
Oh, really? Which state are you in?
Yep. I'd rather not say that because I actually now work for the university where I attended, so I prefer not to.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful what you say when you work for a university.
Yeah. But I guess, going through college, one of the things that I realized writing papers and all of that was in high school, I sort of would read papers and look for, so I'd cite the Heritage Foundation, right? And these sorts of things are not probably considered the best research that we have, right? Like they come in with a bias. I'm not saying that individual academic researchers don't, but they're ideally checks and balances. And so I think going through college and thinking about where am I getting my information from has led me to reevaluate some of the positions. And so I'd still be conservative on things like guns and stuff like that, but would be more liberal with economics probably.
Oh, are you an MMT guy?
I don't know what that means.
Okay, good. That's good. So what do you think you're liberal on with fiscal stuff?
It seems, and I'm not, I didn't really do any economics classes, so I just defer to what the economists say. But it seems like, at least compared to the Austrian school, it seems like that's sort of outdated. We've sort of moved on from that, and a certain amount of stimulus by the government is at least has been shown in practice to be effective. Looking at COVID as an example, it seems like some of the projections were a lot worse.
Well, no, I agree. A part of the reason why our economy is not in recession is because of all the money been pumped into the system, either through the Federal Reserve or through government policy.
Yeah, and economics isn't my field at all, so I'll just defer I will defer to whatever economists.
But economists
suggest on it.
can differ greatly on many issues.
Sure, and I think that we should probably go by what the research shows at the moment, right? So we look at meta-analyses and these sorts of things, and we could be wrong, absolutely. But I think we should make our decisions based off of the best data that we have available. At the
Economics is not much different than religion, in my opinion.
I mean, perhaps, although it seems like we figured some stuff out. I mean, the COVID stimulus is, we were just talking about, seemed like,
well,
hey,
okay, but this is the thing. I think a lot of people will say that yes, economic stimulus is good because it helps lower pain and suffering. But what they don't realize is that sometimes you have to allow pain and suffering. And this is very hard for people on the left to understand, because if you don't, you get things like what we're experiencing, or what we did experience in the last couple of years, huge inflation, which is a tax on the poor. And so if there would have been a little bit less, or maybe let's say, I don't know, 30, 40, 50% less stimulus from COVID, both fiscally and through the Federal Reserve, maybe, just maybe we wouldn't have had the inflation we did. And just maybe we'd have less pain and suffering in the pocketbooks of the average middle to lower class consumer. So I honestly believe this. People who lean left tend to be more compassionate and caring in a certain sense. And so they cannot tolerate any mental anguish. That's bad. And so oftentimes the solution for people on the left is to flood systems with money to try to fix it. And for many years, the United States has been able to get away with it because inflation hasn't hit. But now inflation has hit. And it's still above 2%, the target.
Sure.
Makes sense?
I guess, yeah, I mean, I probably would agree with you that we could fine tune the numbers a little better, right? I don't know that anyone would argue that we, had a perfect response, right? I guess the question would be, if we took a Austrian response, right? Would we have been in a better spot or a worse spot? And I feel like we've sort of come to the point where most people agree that, hey, some amount of government intervention is beneficial. And so I'll defer to whatever the experts say on, the exact amount that would have been optimal.
Okay, Coherence, I want to be honest with you, okay? And I'm not saying I dislike you or I think you're a bad guy, but I honestly view, you've done this twice already. The phrase is, I look to where the evidence lead. I go with what the experts said. I view that as a type of virtue signaling.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it seems to me like you want the public to know just how reasonable you are. I go with what the experts say. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad, but especially when it comes to things like economics, I can find you experts, 5 experts on this side, 5 experts on this side, who vehemently disagree with each other. So it becomes almost meaningless. It's basically, I like these experts better because they comport more to my morality of making people suffer less or something like that.
Okay, sure. I guess, to be clear, I'm not trying to defer to them. I guess I don't have a background in economics, right? So I just can't speak to these issues, right? I sort of read what people say about them, and it's like, oh, okay, I don't know enough to argue against them. But
right, but do you see that the downside to fiscal stimulus, that it can cause inflation?
I'll take your word for it on that, I guess.
Well, I want you to kind of do a mind wipe and just think. I know this is a very dangerous phrase to say, but just use your common sense. If I were to give you $1 billion, and I'll wire it to you today, $1 billion, do you think you would spend more than you have spent in the past?
Oh, naturally, yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you multiply that over many people in let's say a finite community, do you think more people would spend? Yes, of course, because most people are like you. If they got more money, they tend to spend more money. And then the sellers of these products that you're buying say, oh, Coherence has $1 billion now, and Coherence wants to buy a car from me. I was going to ask 10,000, but now that Coherence, the billionaire, is here who really wants my car, I'm going to, I don't know, 15,000 sounds good. Do you think that happens? Just use your common sense.
Almost certainly, yes.
Almost certainly. This is how fiscal stimulus causes inflation. Almost certainly.
Okay, yes.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I guess that's like, I guess my concern would be that when we look at the economy more largely, right, take a more broad perspective, there are going to be other variables that come into play that we can't just look at like a single cause. And oh, sorry, my dog's not enjoying me.
German Shepherd?
If you hear her barking. No, she's a golden doodle. She has a pretty deep
Whoa,
bark
that's a
for-
big golden doodle bark.
She's only 30 pounds, yeah, but yeah, she's got a pretty mean bark to her.
May I ask what field you are in university, or is that asking too much?
No, I studied psychology and political science.
Okay, so social sciences. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. Do you think if you and I were to go to a restaurant together with, I don't know, 8 of your friends, so there's 10 of us, and we all eat the same thing at this restaurant. We have the exact same meals. Do you think it is fair for you to chime up and say, I think we should vote for who will pay for this meal? And 9 of you, except for me, vote that I should pay for it. Do you think that's fair?
Probably not in this situation.
Why not? Why is not fair?
I guess that in the context of just, being out with your friends, going to a restaurant, there's a certain degree of responsibility that each individual has.
Say that again.
There's a certain degree of responsibility that each individual has.
So you're saying that if someone gets food, they are responsible for paying for it?
In this specific context, right? Sure.
In what context is that not the case?
So at least the way I could see a case being made against this would be back in sorry, I'm trying to remember the specific context. I think it was something along the lines that Obama was giving a speech and he was talking about tax rates.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about, how these big companies are not big companies purely because they've made it on their own. There's a whole infrastructure system that they've benefited from, right? So Amazon uses the roads, all of this sort of stuff. And so I think that we can mount arguments that in different situations, the amount of responsibility, the degree of responsibility that falls on certain individuals differs because they've utilized the system more. And that's why I'm sort of hesitant to completely accept this hypothetical. But if we can just mark that as like a flag of, okay, well, given, there are cases in which maybe
I hear you.
reservations.
I hear you. But in this hypothetical, we all had the same meal. And here we had a situation of people vote. And let's say the people who vote have bodyguards or big guys to enforce the vote. Like, let's say I say, no, I'm not paying for it. And then, well, if you don't pay for it, you're going to get beaten or put in jail, whatever. Do you see a similarity between this thought experiment and, let's say, someone, a group of poor people voting in a way to take money from the rich and give it to them? Do you see any parallel?
I think you can construct a parallel there, sure.
To me, the parallel is like it's glaring. And this is the reason why I'm asking this question. It gets to the core fundamentals of what separates conservatives from non-conservatives, let's say. And that is that it is very dangerous when you use the threat of force. And for people who have, let's say, no stake in the game, haven't paid into the system at all, saying, I'm voting for someone who will take this wealth distribution away from this person who, let's say, honestly worked hard and earned it, and give it to them. Do you see a problem with that? Do you see a problem with people who don't pay taxes voting for people who will take, through taxation, money that people have honestly earned and giving it to the poor people? Do you see a problem with that?
Sure. So I think that the area, I don't want to like disregard your hypothetical, right? Because I agree like I can say yes in the restaurant scenario that like everyone should pay for their own meal. I think when we look at it and we blow it up to a societal level, it's a little different because we are like using intuition pumps on things like they earned their money fairly, right? And it's like on the one hand, sure, they're just selling goods, but on the other hand, when we look at society, there are like there, you know, it takes. Milton Friedman had an example of how many people is required to make a pencil, right? Well, the same thing. There are all of these different things in a society required to like operate a business, and so I think that I don't want to agree with the latter example necessarily because I worry that we are.
Okay, you're saying that the government plays a part in their success of how they got their wealth in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with you. But even if, let's take roads, something very simple.
Yep.
Who pays for the roads? Who's actually responsible for the source of funding for roads?
I don't know on a state level. I believe the federal government pays for the interstates, and that would come down to the taxpayers.
Yeah, it's through taxation, and most of it is from taxation at the gas pumps.
Okay, sure.
Right. So, do poor people have cars and drive around a lot? Maybe, but not usually. It's usually public transportation, that sort of thing. So,
Well, I don't know about here in America, but I'll go along with you, sure. It feels like just about everyone has a vehicle nowadays.
no, I'm talking about people in the poverty line. So so your argument kind of falls apart because the people who are actually paying for the government infrastructure to begin with are the wealthy to begin with. Like, are you aware federally what percentage of, let's say, the top 10% pay in federal taxes? So take the top 10 percentile income earners in the United States. What percentage of the total tax revenue do they pay, do you think?
25%.
25%.
Yeah.
Would you be shocked if it was much higher than that?
Probably not.
Okay. I think it's actually 48%.
Okay.
And the top...
Yeah, I guess that probably makes sense,
Yeah,
right? So
so
top
the-
10% would only be like $100,000 and up, right?
So the top 25% at least, I think it's top 25% pay. I should bring it up. But another fundamental question while I'm bringing this up is, do you think government funds private or private funds government?
Can you say that again?
Do you think it's the private industry that funds the government, or do you think it's the government that funds the private industry?
I think it's probably a pretty symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a 50-50 thing?
I imagine there has to probably be more private investment, right? Like, thinking about the GDP, right? We have a GDP and government spending is going to be the majority.
Because my perception is that people who lean left will answer like you did. It's probably 50-50. But you can imagine societies where the government's almost zero. Like they do a little bit of law and order, but basically almost everything's privatized. And what the government, my bias is that it's the private that funds government mostly. And I understand there's fiscal stimulus and the government has the currency and the Federal Reserve and all that. But when it comes down to it, it's private citizens who pay taxes that fund the government. If the private citizens just decide one day, say, no, enough's enough, we're not giving you any more money, guess what happens to the government? It crumbles. But if the reverse is true, if the government says, guess what, we're not going to give you any more infrastructure or fiscal stimulus, I still think the private industries would still survive. In other words, I think the private industry is more powerful and more important than the government industry.
That's probably true, but that just would seem to be because the government really doesn't produce anything, right? And they can distribute the money to construct the framework that is utilized by the private industry to produce things.
And you have to accept my apologies. The top 10% of federal income tax payers pay 75.8% of the total income taxes obtained by the Treasury. 75%. Okay. Your guess was 25%. It's triple that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's. Yeah.
So Mike, getting back to one of my other questions is that when you have the bottom 50 percentile of taxpayers paying, it's 2.3% of the total federal income tax, 2%. When they can vote for politicians that can take money forcibly away from the top 25% so they can get the money, do you think that's fair? Because isn't that my restaurant example?
Yeah, fair. Probably. So I don't know whether or not it's fair. My intuition leans toward no, but I think the society that would exist in which that is allowed is possibly preferable. Now, I'm not some socialist tanky or anything, so I probably fall pretty close to some centrist, right, on tax policy. But if the society in which there's some buy-in, well, I guess I don't know how to phrase it correctly, but if we can imagine like a hypothetical where we have two different societies, one in which those in poverty basically aren't able to vote and vote on tax policy and these sorts of things, versus one where they are, and we have these redistribution schemes. It sort of feels to me like the society that has some degree of redistribution might be a better society to live in.
Yeah, I don't
necessarily. And not talking fairness-wise, just like,
yeah,
but we can imagine some, like utilitarian measure.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with you here. One of the best arguments to give a wealthy person why they should be taxed and money being taken from them and given to the poor is so that the poor don't rob them. That's a very pragmatic reason. That if you don't feed them and shelter them and clothe them, they're going to revolt and kill you.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fair,
right?
Yeah,
that's a great argument to make. But I would counter that with, isn't it better for a wealthy person to freely give food to someone than give it to the government to give food to them? What do you think is better? Assuming that happens, let's assume I have a neighbor who's in poverty and is literally hungry for food, real food. And so option one is I go buy them a meal and hand deliver it to them. Option two, they use food stamps. What do you think is better?
I think the immediate outcome of them getting the food directly from you is probably better.
Yes.
I do kind of wonder though if if there's some benefit given by the buy-in to like the government system by both individuals.
Well, yeah,
case.
The benefit of the food stamps is there's not maybe embarrassment from the person who needs the food, but they still have to go to the store and
both parties sort of are coming together and living by like the this agreed upon like myth, right? That the government, they're agreeing to live by like government rule, right? And I think that this is probably a good thing, right? We wouldn't want we wouldn't want people not to accept currency, right? Even though like there isn't anything objective to the value.
But what
of
I'm getting at
currency.
is like the questions I'm asking you are the core fundamental type questions, and it helps explain why I'm a conservative and why maybe you are not. But maybe you are more conservative than you give yourself credit for. I think that the government should be of last resort when it comes to helping the poor. And the first resort should be family, friends, neighborhood, communities, state, then federal. And so I get, I admit it, I'm selfish. I get a dopamine hit when I can help someone and they smile back at me and say, thank you so much. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You don't get that by paying taxes. You don't. I've never got a dopamine hit from paying taxes.
I mean, I don't know. I get a dopamine hit from when we give aid to Ukraine, I guess, right? Like, there are going to be things where we see our government policy doing good things, and then we get excited about it. But sure, I get your point, and I would probably agree with you that government should be the last resort. But I think that like the structure should still be there, if that makes sense.
Do you think people who get social assistance deserve it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a loaded question. I know. I admit it's a loaded question because it depends
no,
what you mean by
it's a
deserve
fair
and-
question.
Yeah.
I don't know that I don't know that I would make my decisions based off of like deserve or fairness or 1 sec, I'll mute my mic. Hey, no.
I know exactly how it
Deserve or
feels.
fairness. What was that? Sorry?
I know exactly how you feel with your dog barking. It happens to me too. But
She's a puppy.
the reason why I asked this question is because I do think that there's an entitlement attitude that can happen, that once someone goes on social assistance, that they expect that it has to constantly come and they deserve it and it's their right. And I actually think there should be a new law passed that says that if you're on social assistance for, let's say, over 6 months, you have to write a letter of thank you to someone who's, let's say, in the top 10 percentile of wage earners in this country, saying thank you for feeding me. I really appreciate it. Something like that. Can you imagine? And I'd call it the good manners bill, to let people know that when they get fed through food stamps, if they get affordable housing, whatever, that someone else had to pay for it and make it real to them. Do you think that's good or bad, that idea?
I like it in theory. I mean, again, I would defer to the empirical evidence on that, and I'm not using that as a cop out, right? But if like we try this, right, and it causes further problems for some reason that we're not able to think of in theory, right? Well, then we go and reevaluate it. But I think you'd probably agree to that, right?
I gotta let you go because I got some callers who've been waiting. But I enjoyed talking to you, and and I hope through your journey of life. Are you married with kids?
No, I'm not.
Okay, once you do, you'll become conservative, and so call back when that happens.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day.
Hey, I remember you.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, you were a Christian who left Christianity, right? And then we talked about your dad and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, over the years. Yeah, it's been about like a couple of years ago. But I wanted to ask you about I guess it's politics. So
Okay.
I haven't really talked too much about politics, but I actually agree with you. I would say on most things. But I recently I'm gonna turn my camera off. But I recently heard a debate with Destiny and like a panel of conservatives and stuff like that, and about January 6th. And I guess I never really, I mean, obviously everyone heard about it when it happened, but I never really looked into it much. But it got me like, I guess he kind of got me looking into it a little more. And I've never really heard you talk about it much. I guess maybe you have, but I just haven't heard about it. But I'm just so curious of where it seems to be a big reason why some people that would otherwise like Trump don't like him because of that
No, I
situation.
disagree that. I think,
Insurrectionist thing, you know.
yeah, I disagree that people who use January 6th saying that they don't like Trump for that reason, they probably didn't like Trump to begin with. But you want my take on January 6th? January 6th was a bad thing as far
Well,
as...
I wouldn't be that one. I wouldn't be that.
January 6th was a bad thing as far as the violence that occurred, the breaking of destruction of property, the mishandling of the whole thing. I assign responsibility in different ways that compared to other people. I'd say the number one people to blame are the people who actually did the violence, did the property destruction, and so forth. Number two is the Capitol Police. I blame them second. All this could have been avoided if they would have had the proper things in place. And then thirdly and lastly, I blame Trump for it. I don't put much responsibility on Trump for that. You're always going to have people on the left and right who will take things that their leaders that they admire say and then act and say they are acting accordingly to it. There's 2% roughly of the people who were there at the Capitol that day actually entered the building or at the Washington Monument that day. So we're talking about a small fraction. To me, my favorite question to ask people who basically love January 6th because it gives them an excuse to hate Trump is how many 9/11s or Pearl Harbors equals one January 6th. In my opinion, January 6th is nothing compared to Pearl Harbor or 9/11. So that shows you my perspective. Oh, and then when it comes to my opinion on Trump being a threat to democracy, I think the checks and balances worked that day. Basically, what ended up happening is when it comes to the democracy part is that the certification of the votes was delayed by 10 hours. That's all. And people on the left they're almost pissing their pants right now listening to me. They can't believe I'm saying these things. And to them, I say, go change your pants.
What about some things that, I mean, it doesn't help Trump's case? And like, I honestly, I don't, I mean,
You're breaking up on me.
just, I'm super,
I can't hear you. I'll wait 10 more seconds. Ask
it's
one.
not going to sound very convincing probably, but like, I don't really hate Trump or like him. He's-
Yeah. Okay. Cerberus. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, thank you. The thing I wanted to talk about changed about 4 or 5 times while I was listening to you.
That tends to happen. I say things and people, what? Whoa, whoa. Yeah.
What was the first thing? Oh, to answer your question you had for, I guess, a couple times ago. The government's the primary funder.
Yeah. That's why I asked the question, because people have different answers to that question.
Yeah. The government's what makes money. Money's always the stamp. It's not
Yeah.
actually
But
money.
again, what the counter to that argument is that you can still barter. You don't need money.
Yeah. You just can't get money without the government.
Well, no, that's not true. It's not government money. It's different money.
Well, it's a commodity then, if we're talking economics.
So basically, you can have a bartering system, or you can have local communities having their own system. You can use gold, silver.
Yeah. There's commodities.
Okay, what else did you want to talk about?
I initially actually wanted to talk about your take on fake electors.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
actually a big issue for me. I don't actually understand why anyone would vote for any candidate that tried to circumvent the election.
Well, you sounds like you're a smart guy. You can imagine, right?
Why someone would still vote for them?
Yeah, or why it happened in the first place. Like, so I'll give you a shot. So imagine even the term fake electors is kind of like poisoning the well. But why would someone vote for Trump given fake electors?
Well, they would have to think, I would hope that it would be that they would have to think the other side was so bad that they thought their only option was someone that was basically a traitor.
So wait, I don't think I'm understanding you. So, who's the bad one?
Oh, with the one assuming that hopefully they're using their reasoning skills. In this case, someone that voted for Trump, I would hope they would assume then that Biden is so bad.
Oh, that's
that
what
Trump's
you're saying.
like the only option.
Okay, that's one answer. It's not the answer I was thinking of. The very obvious answer is someone would still vote for Trump given the fake electors because they thought that the election was stolen. Right? Isn't that the most reasonable, glaring answer to that question?
Well, I think we're giving the same answer, right? Because who stole the election then? It'd be Biden. So they would think
Well, but
Biden would be so much worse.
yeah, but Biden actually didn't do it. It was his followers, I guess. But okay, yeah, I can see sort of the same answer. Or another answer is that it was unethical, immoral. But if Trump truly believed that the election was stolen, then the actions he took that day would have been deemed noble, right?
I mean, personally to him, maybe. Right. I mean, Hitler thought he was saving the German race.
Yeah. So
I don't think anyone looks back at Hitler and go, "Well, yeah, but he was noble."
This is the thought experiment I often give to people. So in this thought experiment, Trump actually won. Okay.
All right.
Would you say the actions Trump took that day or the weeks following were noble?
If I had the evidence to prove to me that Trump actually won.
No, let's say, no, hang on. In this thought experiment, the evidence isn't there for you, but the fact is there for you. The fact is that Trump won the election. Let's say that's a fact. And the question is, the actions Trump took, wouldn't they be noble? Because he's trying to save democracy.
I don't think I can get there without there being something that lets me know it's a fact.
Well, you can accept, like, imagine you're a child. You know, your parents tell you something. This is a fact. They don't provide you evidence most of the time. They just say, "This is the way it is. This is a fact." Okay, so
I just be believing Trump, I guess. Then in your scenario.
No, let's say in this scenario, God Almighty exists, and He told you through His omniscience brain that Trump won the election. Okay, so it's a fact. Okay, but you don't have any. You don't see your firsthand your evidence, but you know through God that Trump won the election. Now the question is, do the actions Trump took, would you consider them noble?
Well, yeah, but God would be the evidence. Like if there was a God that was omniscient.
So they would be noble.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how some people can vote for Trump, because they truly believe that it's a fact that the election was stolen, and Trump was trying to save democracy. So that's one type of person who would vote for Trump given fake electors. Another type of person, like me, for example, who doesn't say the election was stolen, but will say that what Trump did was wrong, but I have faith in our checks and balances and our democracy, our branches of government, that the worst case scenario could not have happened. And if Trump really wanted to overturn the election and remain in power, he would have done it while he was in power. And he didn't. So none of this scares me. I'm not scared one bit of Trump being a dictator or never leaving the office again. Not 1 second does it scare me or bother me. So even the fake electors thing, I actually wish that goes to court, because I think there's people on the left that think it's a slam dunk case, and I don't think it is. I think there's even precedent, and you might even know better than me about this.
I've read up on the precedent. None of it's similar.
Okay, but that's for a court to decide, right?
Well, given the facts that's been admitted to, I guess by witnesses, right? It's not like all these witnesses have been to trial. Trump and his team tried to do it in secret, They weren't certified by the governors. Some of the people they sent protested so much that they had to rewrite the slates that says this is not official before they would go do it. Right. And it's, for example, like in Hawaii, which is a big case that example that comes
Okay,
up.
let's say I actually have to go soon because I'm going out to deep, but let's assume everything you say is correct and true. Do you honestly think that if Trump wins in the future, this coming November, that will repeat?
That specific thing? No.
Or that
He
Trump
might be
will
willing
try to stay in
something
power?
similar. Yeah, he might be willing to try something similar, just probably not the same way.
Okay. And so you think, like, let me be very specific. Do you think that if Trump wins in November, that 5 years in the future, he'll still be president?
Yeah, I think it's unlikely, but more likely than any of the other candidates running. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Okay, but let's say the likelihood of that for any other candidates 0.0000001%, and Trump's double that. Is that an issue?
Probably not, but I would.
Right. This is where I'm coming from.
To that characterization, because being that he tried it once already, it's probably higher than that.
Right. But why are you concerned about him trying and failing?
Because you can succeed if you try.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at. Do you think what's the probability you think he would? Let's assume the worst case scenario that Trump is going to try again. What's the probability he'll succeed? In your mind,
Probably not higher than 20%.
And
Probably above. Probably I would put it honestly probably about
5%.
Yes.
Okay, that's 20-1 odds. I'll give you 20-1. I'll bet you $100. I'll give you 20-1 that in 5 years, if Trump wins, that in 5 years he'll be out of office. You going to take that bet?
No, it's a terrible bet to take. But it's just that the amount you're risking for such a much higher risk than a fraction of a percent.
Well, I was going to give you 2,000 and you give me 100, but I mean, this is how confident I am that what you're talking about is not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even past that, I think if he succeeded, I don't think he'd be there very long because I think eventually what would happen is you would have a sniper that was competent.
Do you wish Trump was killed?
No.
Why not?
I don't think he's done. I think he needs to see trial.
Right, but if you think there's a 5% chance that Trump will become some type of dictator, why take that chance? Why not just take him out?
Because it's the same difficulty after the fact as before the fact, as far as I can tell.
Because if you go through the courts, there's no guarantee the courts are going to rule in your favor that you'll like. In fact, aren't the courts more in Trump's favor?
Supreme Court, maybe.
Yeah. So let's put it another way. It's just getting interesting, and I got to leave soon. Let's say Trump does become dictator, and that your 5% holds true. What's going to happen? What bad things are going to happen as Trump is dictator?
I don't think Trump's going to do much of the bad stuff. I think Trump won't last very long because someone will actually get rid of him.
Okay, but let's assume he lives and he becomes dictator, and nobody takes him out because he now has the generals protecting him, the full force of the U.S. military. What's the bad things that Trump's going to do as dictator?
Oh, I mean, if no one else does it and he's a dictator, I'll have to try.
Can you answer my question?
That's terrible. I don't want to do that.
What are the bad things that you can foresee Trump doing as dictator?
Well, I mean, just dissolving the government, basically.
Okay, but what's bad about dissolving the government? What's these bad things, consequences?
Complete lack of checks and balances.
Okay.
All power centralized in a single person.
Right, all that's gone.
Basically, every bad thing.
What I'm asking you is, Trump's dictator democracy is gone. What's the bad things you foresee?
Oh, once he's gone?
No. Once democracy is gone and Trump's a dictator, I'm asking you very specifically, what do you fear? For example, let me help you. Do you think he's going to round up black people and kill them?
No, probably not.
Do you think he's going to round up Jews and kill them, or trans people and kill them?
No, I don't. I don't think he's ethno supremacist of any kind.
Okay. Do you think he's going to kill poor people and feed them to the, or kill the elderly and feed them to the poor? What are you foreseeing this evil dictator doing?
He's probably closer to one of the bad Roman emperors than he would be to like Hitler or something.
Okay, Roman emperors were known for going into other regions, countries, and taking them over. Do you view Trump as a type of person who wants to take over the world? He views some of the world as shitholes. Why would he want to take over a shithole country?
Well, shithole countries tend to have resources.
Okay, so you
They're just undeveloped.
you do view Trump as a guy who will take over other countries.
Yeah, I view him as a guy that's willing to circumvent what's considered ethical to get things that he wants. Right. So if he thinks
Right, but what does he want?
Well, if he thinks his empire needs diamonds, go invade Africa.
Now, he was already president for 4 years. Do you see any indication from his past record of wanting to take over countries, like through force?
Yeah.
You do? Like what?
Beginnings of it, fake electors.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we're going in circles. I gotta go.
Actual literal violence? No, not yet. I haven't seen any of that.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in. Sorry, there's people who wanted to call in, but I got to run. But this is, if you're a conservative listening and you are around people who just fear Trump, that he's going to get rid of democracy, do the line of questioning I just did and say, okay, let's say you're right about all this. Get them to state specifically what are these terrible dictatorial things he's going to do. And don't let them get away with generalities. Well, he's going to get rid of democracy. Yeah, I know. Democracy's gone. But what's the badness that's going to happen? Because democracy is gone and he's now a dictator. And I bet you they're going to really struggle. The closest they can come is say he's going to take over countries. But there's no indication of his past record of him having any desire to become a colonialist and take over the world. He's an isolationist. He's a nationalist. If anything, if I look at the worst side of Trump, I'm imagining him as the United States is the best and all you other people are garbage. All the other countries are garbage. And he doesn't even want to set foot on your land because it's like so garbage. We don't need you, says Trump. United States has the biggest oil reserves. We're the best at everything. We don't need you. In fact, we're going to just watch you die because you are not sucking up to... Like, you can perceive Trump in this bad way and still say he's not going to hurt anybody. Like, people are going to hurt themselves. So here's my tip. Whenever you're with someone who's suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, get them to be very, very specific on their fears of Trump. Don't let them just get away with, well, he's a threat to democracy. Say, okay, democracy's gone. Well, now what? What's Trump going to do? And they cannot answer that question. Because they admit, no, he's not going to round up the poor. He's not going to round up the blacks, the Jews, and kill them. He's not going to put the people in concentration camps. You just watch them kind of stutter their way through with some type of answer. Okay, where's my bumper music? I'll take some questions in the live stream chat and then I gotta run. Is that too loud? No. Like Obama did? Yeah. There's argument to be made that Obama's more of an imperialist than Trump. Why not debate destiny on this unless you enjoy beating up on uninformed kiddos? Why are you denigrating my beautiful callers that have called in today? Even the first guy, the pizza delivery guy, I liked. I mean, He's a contributor to society. Pizza delivery guy, if you're listening, I'm being sincere. Thank you. Thank you for being a left-winger, contributing to society, paying your taxes. You're probably a great driver on the road. You have to be if you're pizza delivery guy. Thanks for the donation, Roger. Why are OK Dems with rigging the last 3 primaries? Roger, this is the big topic right now. I just made a short on that. I think the Democrats, people on the left, have lost all credibility with the phrase, Trump is a threat to democracy. If Kamala Harris is the nominee for president on the Democratic ticket, she did not get 1 vote to run for president. She was an appointed person. Appointed. Where's the democracy in that? Hey, Michael. Yeah, I'm not against debating Destiny, but I actually think Destiny is so mentally ill that, I don't know, is it unethical? A part of me would just desire to troll Destiny so hard and be the conservative he wants me to be and let him go insane. But that would be immoral, maybe a little bit. Poof. Thanks for hanging out. What is it today? Tuesday? I might be back Thursday. We'll see.